Now available in paperback. Those who refuse the gift of eternal life are condemned to wander in the darkness of eternal night. Get your copy of Eternal Night at online booksellers today. I was watching Black Up Inya's video, You Can't Take Rejection, where he was talking about how many of these black males out here are having a problem with the murder of Breonna Taylor and how they are letting their emotions over past rejections by black women cloud their judgment as related to the facts of the case. And for some of these black males out here, they're so caught up in their emotions about these past rejections by black women in junior high school and high school that they cannot see the events of the Breonna Taylor murder objectively as adults. Now, many of these black males, they don't really see how white supremacy is manipulating them through their emotions and how white supremacy is using their emotions to gaslight them into believing that Breonna Taylor was somewhat complicit in her own murder. When you start to take a critical examination of the facts of this case, you start to see that there clearly is a cover up being done by the Louisville Police Department. Because after I watched several of Professor Black Truth's videos and did my own research, I can clearly see the cover up as related to the murder of Breonna Taylor and how this no knock raid was really questionable once you start to really look at the facts as related to how they were going about gathering the evidence for this case. Because when you have institutions, federal institutions like the United States Postal Service, saying that there were no illegal or suspicious packages being delivered to the Taylor house, and you have the federal government, United States Postal Service, saying that there was nothing really going on at the Taylor home, that's a red flag. Moreover, when you have your attorney general going out here and never presenting any sort of murder charge, that's another red flag. But many of these red flags go over the heads of many of these black males because they are so caught up in their emotions about these rejections they received in the past from black women or black girls they wanted to have relationships with, and because they are so caught up in their feelings about those girls from the past, they can't see how their feelings are being manipulated so that they won't stand up and fight for their civil rights. So a lot of these black males, they're not really looking at the bigger picture. They are just dwelling on their feelings about things that went on in the past, and that doesn't have them thinking critically about their future and the future as related to their civil rights. So a lot of these black males, they're still hurting about the girl who got away, but they don't see how there's a plan by these white supremacists to take away their civil rights. So they don't see the big picture because all they're thinking of is from the emotional perspective of Breonna Taylor dated a Pookie. But this case is not about whether Breonna Taylor dated a Pookie or not. Once you start to really look at the facts of the case, this clearly is a case where Breonna Taylor's civil rights were violated because these officers went and got this search warrant based on some suspect information and then got a judge to sign off on this search warrant on suspect information. And this was all part of a campaign that everybody knew that there was something wrong with this warrant, but now they want to cover it up, from the district attorney to the detectives to your attorney general, Daniel Cameron. There clearly is some sort of alleged effort to cover this incident up, and what they want to do is use the black male's emotions to make him complicit inside of this whole incident, because what they want to do is use the black male's feelings to have him turn against Breonna Taylor. And again, this is all part of white supremacy's game of divide and conquer. If they can separate the black man from the black woman, then we won't have a unified effort to fight for Breonna Taylor's civil rights, and we get a very dangerous legal precedent set as related to black people's civil rights, because what they're doing is using us from three sides. They'll have the black man fighting the black woman, and then they'll have Daniel Cameron go out here and create things like not getting an indictment, and this will set a legal precedent to send a message that black people's lives don't matter, because black people are the ones who will go out here and support their own destruction. So what they want to do is put us against ourselves, and a lot of these black males, they're so still caught up in their feelings about the girl who turned them down for a date in junior high school, the girl who turned them down for a date in high school. They're still thinking about the teenage girls who rejected them, but they're not thinking critically about how this relates to the interpretation of law as related to black men and women. And it sadly shows how arrested the development of some of these black males are. They can easily be manipulated by their feelings as related to this case, because I look at it as a lot of these black males are growing older, but not growing up. They're still thinking about the girl who got away, not thinking about your civil rights slipping away, and they don't really understand that there are more important things here than who Breonna Taylor dated. This is about black people showing that our lives matter, that our lives have value, and that people cannot just come into our neighborhoods and our communities with these no-knock raids and terrorize other black people based on false, trumped-up information, because this was done all throughout the 1980s during the war on drugs. We had a lot of people, they would go get these junkies, these crackheads, and they would use their information to go to people's homes and terrorize them with these no-knock raids. And the criminals would still go on the next day doing the same thing, because they would manipulate this information, and then law enforcement would, just to get a quota, would attack somebody, and then they would sue the city. And that's what they probably thought they were going to do with Breonna Taylor, was to break into her home, and then she would sue the city. But this turned disastrously wrong, and now that's why we have this whole effort to try to cover up everything in a scandal. And again, many black men think that this is all about Breonna Taylor dating a Pookie, and they're projecting their feelings about the girl who got away onto Breonna Taylor, and that's not what the case of this is at all. This whole case is about black people's civil rights. This is about setting a legal precedent, and it's about the dangerous legal precedent that has been set by Daniel Cameron in his efforts to try to manipulate the grand jury by not even filing murder charges against these officers. That makes it where a black person's life has been devalued, sadly, by a black man, and we have other black men who are being manipulated by their feelings about black women into believing that the devaluing her life is something positive, when in actuality, this devalues all black lives, because this whole legal precedent is one that these people in Louisville can use to go after other black people. But many black males, still caught up in arrested development, are still thinking about Breonna Taylor like the girl that rejected them in high school, instead of growing up to become men and women to see that this case is more than that. And so when I look at a lot of these black males, it shows me they still haven't gotten over the girl who rejected them. They still haven't gotten over the girl who they had a crush on in junior high school and high school, and how this is a dangerous frame of thinking because it's clouding their judgment and preventing them from seeing factual situations from an objective perspective. And yes, I understand how these guys feel. I mean, when I was in junior high school, and even elementary school, there were girls I had crushes on. Those girls, in some cases, turned me down. And I didn't let it affect me to the point where it was messing with my mind. I mean, I got over that kind of stuff when I was 16 years old. And I came to the notion to understand that if a girl says no to you, it's not the end of the world. It means she doesn't like you. And I grew up in that time of the crack epidemic where girls would go out here with these drug dealers. And I just took it as, if that's who she likes, that's who she likes. And I can find somebody else. And if there are no women who are interested, then I can go on and focus on myself. And these guys, I think they're still harboring anger about that time in their lives. They're still frustrated about that time in their lives. And this has really still messing with their judgment. And when they see Breonna Taylor's story, it brings up all of those bad memories. And that's what the white supremacists want to do. They want to manipulate these black people. That's why they started gaslighting with this story, because it was all about divide and conquer, and it was all about manipulating people so that you can have the black man stop supporting Breonna Taylor, not understanding that this is about black people's civil rights. And if you take the black man out of his own movement for civil rights, he then is walking away from his own freedom, not understanding that he's being used as a pawn on the table. So this is something black men really, again, need to work on. And I really want to do a live stream on this whole one who got away. But when I look at the whole Breonna Taylor case, I can agree with Black Opinion when he said that a lot of these guys, they really need to get over this whole situation, because this type of thinking is really messing these guys up. They're still upset over that girl who left them, that girl who rejected them, and that's something you need to get over. And it was something I got over when I was 16 years old, and it's something that I learned to accept, that hey, people make choices of who they want to be with, and if that's the choice she wanted to make, then you accept that choice, because God has a better girl out there for you, and he has a girl who is going to be better suited to you. If she's just not into you, she's just not that into you, and all you can do is charge her to the game and keep it moving. If girls don't like you, they don't like you, and sometimes you dodge a bullet, because you find out later on that that girl has other issues going on, and those issues would have made it where you two would have been completely incompatible. Unfortunately, these guys are still caught up in their feelings about the one who got away, and because they're so caught up in their feelings about the one who got away, they're still angry about this, and they don't see how this is coloring their perception of women, how this is coloring their perception of relationships, and how this is keeping them single. I'm going to do a whole live stream on that whole subject, but when I look at that whole situation, again, these guys don't see how they're being used as pawns in the effort to suppress black civil rights, and they don't see how they are being used as useful idiots and being used to separate and divide and conquer. So there's a lot more going on as related to Breonna Taylor. And again, when you look at the efforts to try to demonize her boyfriend, demonize Breonna Taylor, you have to understand that the game is chess, not checkers. And if you understand the game is chess, not checkers, you won't get played by gaslighting tactics like the efforts to try to demonize the name of the late Breonna Taylor and her boyfriend. If you'd like to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if you want to try some of my SJS Direct publications on men's issues, like Stop Simping, you may do so by clicking the link to Amazon.com in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Coming to paperback and Kindle this fall, E-Steam Blast from the Past. Hell's aspiring angel takes on her demonic doppelganger in this time-traveling, action-packed E-Steam series adventure. Pre-order your copy of E-Steam Blast from the Past